Hello everyone and welcome back to another video where today we are going to be doing my full 1:400 scale collection update for the winter of 2026. It's still a little weird to say, but it is 2026 now, so Happy New Year. But we're going to get started today with my full collection update for this 6-month period. It has grown quite a bit since the last time. In fact, we have reached a really cool milestone. Currently, I have 307 models in my collection, so we have passed that 300 mark, which is just crazy to think about. I still can't believe that. It's such a crazy milestone. But yeah, so 307 models in the collection today. So today we are going to be going through every single model in my collection with some brief details about it. I've done tons of these, I'm sure you guys know the drill, so without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and get straight into it. Starting off with some wide bodies from United, Delta, and American. I do apologize that the shelves here are a little bit dusty. It has been a while since I've gotten to dust them, so I do apologize about that. But anyway, starting off right here, we have a United 767-300, a United 767-300 in the Star Alliance livery, a United 767-400, a United 787-8, a United 787-9, a United 787-10, a United 787-10 in the Continental Globe livery. We have a United 777-200ER in the Star Alliance livery. We then have 3 different United 777-200ERs in the current Evo Blue livery. We have the Phoenix version, the most recent Gemini Jets version, and the most recent Gemini Jets flaps down version. That is the first and so far only flaps down model in my collection, but it is quite a cool one, so I might try and get some more of those. We then have a United 777-300ER. Moving on to American here, we have an American 787-8, an American 787-9, an American 777-200ER, and an American 777-300ER. For Delta here, we have a 767-300, a Delta 767-400, an A330-200, an A330-300, an A330-900neo, and finally a Delta A350-900 in the LA-28 livery. That is a very pretty model. Anyway though, so moving on to some narrow bodies for United, Delta, and American. Starting out here with American, we have an American Eagle CRJ 200, 2 American Eagle CRJ 700s, an American Eagle CRJ 900. We have 3 American Eagle ERJ 145s, 2 of the Piedmont release and 1 of the Envoy release. We then have 2 American Eagle Embraer 170s, 1 in the regular livery and 1 in the Envoy Retro livery, and then 3 American Eagle Embraer 175s. All of these are the most recent Envoy release. We then have an American A319 with fence tips, an American A319 with sharklets. We have 3 American 737-800s, 2 in the regular livery and 1 in the One World livery, and an American 737 MAX 8. We have 2 American A320s, 1 with IAE engines and 1 with CFM engines. We have 2 American A321s, both special liveries. I would like to get a couple regular livery American A321s since they do have a ton of those. But yeah, we got 1 in the PSA Retro livery and 1 in the flagship Valor livery. And then we have an American A321neo. Moving on over to United, which is a collection that has grown a ton since the last update, especially over here in the regional side. Starting off, we have 3 United Express CRJ 200s, 2 in the Evo Blue livery, 1 in the Continental Globe livery. We have 3 United Express CRJ 550s, 2 of the 2019 release and 1 of the most recent release. I believe that would have been 2025 when that one came out. We then have a United Express Embraer 170, a United Express Embraer 175 in the Continental Globe livery, and then 6 United Express Embraer 175s in the Evo Blue livery. I may or may not have gone a bit overboard on the most recent release, but you know, I figure it's better to have too many than not enough. So yeah, 2 of these are the 2020 release, and then the other 4 are the most recent release. But yeah, so that is a crazy looking collection now. Anyway, moving on to mainline here, we have two United 737-700s, one in the Continental Globe, one in the Evo Blue. We then have three United 737-800s. This, I used to just have the one NG Models one, but we have gotten two new ones. These are the new Aero Polaris releases, which are two different registrations, which is cool that they did that. So I actually have three unique registrations for my United 738, so that's nice. Then we have two United 737 MAX 8s. We have three United 737-900ERs, one in the Continental Globe livery and two in the Evo Blue livery. We then have two United 737 MAX 9s and a United 737 MAX 10. This was one I was debating on getting. I ended up deciding to get it because I figure when and if this does eventually enter service, I'm sure everyone's gonna want one of these, and then there's just not gonna be one available, so better to go ahead and pick it up now. Anyway, moving on here, we have a United A319, two United A320s, one in the Evo Blue livery and one in the Stars and Bars Retro. We have a United A321neo. We then have a bunch of United 757s. Starting off right here, we have two in the Continental Globe livery. One of these is the Gemini Jets 2014 release, and one of these is the most recent NG Models release with the Scimitar winglets. We then have a United 757-200 in the Evo Blue livery. We have our two Hero liveries, the California and the New York, which unfortunately were repainted, so that definitely sucks. And then finally for United here, we have two 757-300s, Continental Globe livery and Evo Blue livery. Anyway, that brings us over to Delta. So this shelf is a bit harder to get to, so I'm gonna do my best here. But starting off with the regionals here, we have a Delta Connection CRJ200, a Delta Connection CRJ700. We have three Delta Connection CRJ900s. These are all the 2021 November 821 Sierra Kilo, I believe is the registration on those. I might be wrong, but there's the 2021 release from Gemini Jets. I did decide to get a third one of those. I found a good deal on it because I feel like now that I'm doing CVG updates, I really should have a third one since we do get quite a few of these. Anyway though, moving on, we have a Delta Connection Embraer 170, two Delta Connection Embraer 175s. Would definitely be nice to see one of these from Gemini Jets with the standard winglets, as I am still missing that since we've never gotten a release of that, and we do get those at Lexington, so that would be neat to see. Anyway though, we then have a Delta A220-100, Delta A220-300, a Delta A319, and a Delta A320. Moving on over here, we have two Delta 717-200s with a spot for a third one. I do have the most recent Gemini Jets release on order. I wasn't going to get that one, but then the pictures came out and it looked really good, so I am going to have three of these guys. So yeah, that'll be interesting, but Delta do have a ton of these, so, you know, I guess that's fine to have three. But that's where that's going to go. Unfortunately, that did not arrive in time. We then have our Delta MD-88, our Delta MD-90. We have two Delta 737-800s, the 2008 or 9, I believe, Gemini Jets release, and the most recent NG Models release with the split scimitars. We then have two Delta 737-900ERs. We have two Delta A321s, one in the Thank You livery and one just in the regular livery. We then have two Delta A321neos, one in the regular livery and one in the 100 Years livery. We have two Delta 757-200s, one without winglets and one with winglets. And finally, we have a Delta 757-300. Anyway though, moving on down to some low cost and just other airlines down here. We have, starting off, we have Alaska and Hawaiian. We have two Alaska Embraer 175s, one in the regular livery and one in the Horizon Retro. We have an Alaska 737-700, an Alaska 737-900ER, an Alaska 737 MAX 8, an Alaska 737 MAX 9 in the West Coast Wonders livery. And then moving on to Hawaiian, who are of course now owned by Alaska, we have a Hawaiian 717-200, a Hawaiian A321neo, a Hawaiian A330-200, and a Hawaiian 787-9, although unfortunately these will eventually all be transferred over to Alaska, so this is an aircraft that will not exist in this livery for too much longer, which definitely sucks because it looks very nice. Anyway, moving on over here, we have a World Atlantic MD-83, we have an Eastern 767-300, We have a National A330-200 and a Boeing House 787-9 in the Dreams Take Flight livery. Moving on to some proper low costs now, we have, starting off at the front here, 3 Southwest 737-700s. We have 1 with blended winglets and 2 with scimitar winglets. The 2 in front of the NG models releases. This one is from Panda Models, the RM Model Store exclusive. We then have 2 Southwest 737-800s, 1 in the regular livery and 1 in the New Mexico 1 livery. We then have 4 Southwest 737 MAX 8s, 2 in the regular livery and 2 in our Canyon Blue and Desert Gold retros. Moving on back here, we have an Allegiant Airbus A319. We have 2 Allegiant A320s, 1 in the new livery and 1 in the Travelers Ideal livery, and an Allegiant 737 MAX 8-200. We then have 2 Frontier A320 Neos, 1 in the Baja the Whale Shark livery and 1 in the Poppy the Prairie Dog livery. We have a Frontier A321 in the Steve the Eagle livery, and then 2 Frontier A321 Neos, 1 in the Chopper the Great White Shark livery and 1 in Edward, I think that's Edward, the Edward the Bald Eagle livery with the America's Green Airline titles. Moving on to an airline that might not exist come the next collection update. They're definitely hanging in there, but we'll see. We have a Spirit Airbus A320, a Spirit Airbus A320 Neo, a Spirit Airbus A321, and a Spirit Airbus A321 Neo. On to JetBlue now, we have a JetBlue A220-300, a JetBlue A320 in the high-rise livery, a JetBlue A320 in the newer livery Spotlight tail, a JetBlue A321 in the Prisms livery, and a JetBlue A321 in the updated livery with the balloons tail. On back here, we have a Breeze A220-300, a Sun Country 737-800 in the Tide Pod livery. We have a Republic Embraer 175 in the house livery, an Air Wisconsin CRJ 200 in the house livery, a Contour ERJ 145, and a JSX ERJ 145. Moving on down here, we have a couple of the start of my cargo collection for UPS and FedEx. The rest of it is over on these other shelves, but I have UPS and FedEx over here. Starting off right here, we have a FedEx 757-200, a FedEx 767-300, and a FedEx Airbus A300. On to UPS, we have a UPS Boeing 757-200, a UPS Boeing 767-300, a UPS Airbus A300, and an aircraft that is unfortunately not in service right now after the devastating crash in Louisville. Hopefully these will return to service someday, but I'm not sure. But we have the UPS MD-11. We then have a UPS 747-8F this is the interactive series from Gemini Jets. I believe the 2021 release, maybe 2020, early 2020s release, but yeah. So that's it for UPS and FedEx. Moving on over here, we have my small military collection that has grown a little bit. Starting off right here, we have a U.S. Air Force Dover-based, or actually this one's not Dover-based, this is Wilmington-based, I believe, but Delaware Air National Guard C-130. We have a Pennsylvania Air National Guard KC-135 Stratotanker. We have a Dover-based C-17 Globemaster. We have quite a neat one, which is my B-29 from Dragon Wings. That's a really neat model. And then, of course, we have our VC-25A Air Force One. Anyway, though, one more shelf over here, and it is the most difficult to reach. But these are kind of my United, Delta, and American retro aircraft, and I also have US Airways thrown in there. So we're gonna get started right here. This has grown a bit as well. For United, we have our Blue Tulip CRJ 200. We have our Blue Tulip 737-300. We have our Battleship Gray 737-500. We have our Battleship Gray 747-400. And then we've got our two Saul Bass aircraft, a DC-8-21 and a 757-200. Over here with Delta, we have a 757-200 in the widget livery and an MD-11 in the Colors in Motion livery. For US Airways right here, we have our one Embraer 170, try to give you guys a good view there, And then, of course, for American, we have our ERJ 145, a 757-200, and a 767-300. So yeah, sorry that those kind of have a bad view. That's the disadvantage of actually showing you guys the models as they're on the shelf. Some of them are just a little difficult to reach with filming angles. But yeah, so that's it for my kind of US shelf. Obviously there's some other US carriers over there, but this is mostly US. And so yeah, now moving on over here to our international shelf, and just kind of, you know, the rest of our retros other than United, Delta, American, and US Airways, and the rest of our cargo. We're gonna get started up at the top here with British Airways. We have a British Airways Embraer 190, a British Airways A319. We have a British Airways 787-8, a British Airways 787-10, a British Airways 777-200ER, a British Airways 777-300ER, a British Airways A350-1000, a British Airways 747-400, and a British Airways A380. On to Virgin Atlantic here, we have a Virgin Atlantic A330-300, 3 Virgin Atlantic A330-900s. We have the first Gemini Jets release, which is GVJAZ, the second Gemini Jets release with the 40th anniversary sticker, which is GVSRB, and the Aviation 400 release, which is GVTOM. We then have 2 Virgin Atlantic 787-9s, the Aviation 400 and the NG models. Aviation 400 is GVSPY, and the NG models is GVZIG. We then have 2 Virgin Atlantic A350-1000s. We have an earlier Phoenix release, which is GVPRD, and the first NG models release, which is GVEVE. We then have a Virgin Atlantic A340-600, and then 2 Virgin Atlantic 747-400s, GVBIG and GVXLG. Anyway, that's it for my British Airways and Virgin Atlantic fleets. Moving on down here, getting started with some North American, internationals, and European aircraft. Starting with Canada here, we have an Air Canada Express CRJ 900, an Air Canada Express Embraer 175. We have an Air Canada A220 300, an Air Canada 737 MAX 8. We have an Air Canada A320 in the toothpaste livery, an Air Canada A321, and then we have a Porter Q400, and a WestJet 737-800, and a WestJet 737 MAX 8. That is a gorgeous model I've wanted for the longest time. I was finally able to get. Anyway, starting off with some European low-cost carriers here, we have a Norse 787-9, a Discover A330-300, and an Edelweiss A350-900. Moving on over to some more European carriers here, we have a Luxair Q400, an Aer Lingus Regional ATR 72, an Aer Lingus A321neo, a Ryanair 737-800. We have an Icelandair 737 MAX 8, an Icelandair A321neo, and an SAS A321neo. We then have a Lufthansa A330-300, a Lufthansa 787-9, a Lufthansa A350-900, and a Lufthansa 747-8i in the gorgeous retro livery. We then have a KLM Embraer 190, a KLM A330-200, a KLM 787-9 with the 100-year sticker, and a KLM 777-300ER. Moving on over here, starting off, we have some Latin American international carriers. We have an Aeromexico Connect Embraer 190 in the new livery, an Aeromexico 737-800 in the new livery. We have an Aeromexico 737-800 in the old livery. We have a Volaris A320neo in the Cien Aviones livery. We have an Avianca A320. I absolutely love their livery so much. We have a Copa Airlines 737 MAX 9 and a Gol 737 MAX 8. Anyway, next up we have some more European heavies. Starting off, we have an Austrian 777-200ER in the 60 years livery. We have an ETA A330-900neo, a TAP A330-900neo in the 100th aircraft livery. We have a Condor A330-900neo with the beige stripes. We then have an Iberia A350-900, A350-900. I said that weird. We have a Finnair A350-900 in the One World livery. We have an Air France A350-900, and we have a Swiss A330-300. Anyway, moving on down to the Middle East as well as India, who have just kind of got thrown in here. Starting off, we have a Turkish 787-9. We have an El Al 787-9 in the Jerusalem of Gold livery. We have an Etihad 787-9. We have an Air India A350-900 in their new livery, which I will admit has grown on me quite a bit. I do quite like it now. We then have a Qatar A3, 777-300ER. We have an Emirates 777-300ER and an Emirates Airbus A380. And continuing on down here, starting with some East Asian and Australian carriers, we have an ANA 787-9 in the Star Wars R2-D2 livery, which unfortunately has been repainted, but it is still a gorgeous aircraft. We then have an ANA 777-300ER. We have a Japan Airlines 787-9. We have a Korean 777-300ER in their new livery, which again is one that I actually quite like. I feel like this is a livery that's gotten a lot of hate just because it replaced a really iconic livery, but I mean, purely just looking at it, I do really like it. It's a very nice looking aircraft, but yeah. Then over here we have a Cathay Pacific A350-1000, if my camera will focus. There we go. We then have an Air Koryo IL-62M. We have a Qantas 787-9 and a Virgin Australia 737 MAX 8. All right, and moving on to the rest of my cargo fleet, starting off here, we have a DHL 737-400, a DHL 737-800, a DHL 767-200, we have two DHL 767-300s with winglets, and two DHL 777 freighters. Back here we have an Amerijet International 767-300. We have two Cargojet 757-200s, one with winglets and one without. And then we have our Polar/DHL 747-8F and our Atlas Air/Apex Logistics 747-8F, the last 747 built. Moving on over here, we have a Kalitta Charters 2 737-400, a Kalitta Charters 2 727-200. We have two Kalitta Air 747-400s, one in the Mask livery and one in the new livery. And then we have our Kalitta 777-300ER Boeing converted freighter, Big Twin. This is such a cool aircraft, and these have been really frequenting CVG and SDF as well, actually a lot. So I've been getting to see a bunch of these in action recently, which has been very cool. Moving on back here, we have a fleet that will grow a lot soon. Starting off, we have two Primair 737-800s. We have our singular Primair 767-300, but I do have several of the new Phoenix release Primair 763s on order. I'm so happy that we finally got a re-release of that. So I will have a bunch more Primair 767s to make CVG more realistic soon, but for the time being, we just have the one. And then finally for Prime Air here, we have our A330-300 P2F. Anyway, moving on down to the bottom here for some retros that aren't United, Delta, and American. Starting off here, we have our Planet Airways 727-200. We have our National 727-200. We have a Northwest 757-200 in the bowling shoe livery. We have our different National 757-200. We have an Omni Air International 757-200. We then have an Allegiant 757-200 in the Travel is Our Deal livery. We have an Allegiant MD-82 in the livery before the Travel is Our Deal livery. We have a Braniff 720B. We then have an Egypt Air 707-320, I believe. And then we have a Balkan Holidays TU-154, almost said IL-62M. It's a TU-154, which was quite a neat model I decided to pick up because, well, it was in stock and it's a cool livery, and I do have a soft spot in my heart for these old Soviet aircraft. They are very pretty. Anyway, though, moving on here, we have our Concords with Air France and British Airways. And at the back of this shelf here, we have an Air Canada A340-300, an Iberia A340-300, an Iberia A340-600, and a Malaysia 747-400. Moving on to our last shelf here, starting off at the front, we have a Sobel Air 737-800, a US Air BAE 146-200. We have a Continental 737-200 in the red contrails livery. We have an Icelandair Vickers Viscount. We have a Trans International L188C. We have a Southwest 737-700 in the Canyon Blue livery. Weird to think that this is now officially a retro aircraft. Then moving on to some wide bodies here, we have a TWA 747SP. This was a pretty recent pickup, quite a cool one, and a TWA 747-100. We then have a Continental Micronesia DC-10-10. We have an Eastern L1011. We have a Transamerica 747-200, a Pan Am 747-100. This is Clipper Storm King, the gorgeous HX models release. That is a very cool pickup I picked up pretty recently, very nice model. And then we have some Virgin Atlantic retros with our 747-200 maiden Voyager, their very first aircraft, and an A340-600 in their early 2000s livery. Anyway, that does conclude it for my main shelves, but that does not mean my collection update is 100% over. We've also got to take a look at some very cool 3D printed aircraft. I haven't included these in a collection update before, but I figured I probably should since they are aircraft in my collection, even though they are just 3D printed and not quite as detailed. But they're still an important part of my collection nonetheless. So starting off right here, we have 4 Cessna 172s from an eBay seller whose name I cannot remember, but they are quite nice. So if you do see these on eBay, I would recommend picking some up. We then have 3 Cessna Citation 550s. These are from AvGeek models over in the UK. We then have 2 Beechcraft King Air 350Is. These are from Jet Set models. We have a FedEx Cessna Grand Caravan, Cessna 208 Grand Caravan. This is from Tarmac Designs. And then we have 2 Gulfstream G650s. These are also from AvGeek models. But yeah, so that is my 3D printed aircraft collection, which hopefully will grow a little bit in the future, but for the time being, I've kind of got a solid start with it. Anyway, though, that does conclude my full 1:400 scale collection for the winter of 2026. I do sincerely hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I do apologize that it is coming out a little bit late. I do usually like to get this like right at the beginning of the new year. It is coming out a little bit later than I had anticipated, but I've just been busier than I thought I would be. But you know, better late than never. So yeah, it is still absolutely crazy, all the models I have. Sometimes I just walk into my room and just like, wow, that's a lot, you know? If I sold all of them, I could probably buy a new car, but that's beside the point. These bring me so much more joy than a new car ever would. But yeah, so that is my full 1:400 collection. Once again, if you guys did enjoy, be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to my channel, and if you have time, leave a comment down below telling me your thoughts. Do you collect 1:400 scale? If so, how many models do you have? Do you collect a different scale? Be sure to let me know down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. So with that, I hope you guys do have an absolutely incredible rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.